Today on Moonstar, a Sailor Moon podcast, we find out what happens when nature has finally had enough, when Chris and I discuss the 12th episode of Sailor Moon's Deep Dub titled An Unnatural Phenomena.
It's the squirrels!
Get off, you furry-tailed rats! Help! Somebody help!
I've never seen squirrels act like that. Me neither. Better get the scouts to look into this. Right, Luna.
Forget about that clumsy old fool! He's a memory!
Not yet, he isn't. She's going to need your help, Serena. I was getting there. Moon, Prism, power!
Okay. Hello and welcome back to Moonstar, a Sailor Moon podcast. We're officially 2 weeks into 2023, and I decided to start off, or to lead us in this week with a couple of transformations because I know there's a lot of that energy in the air right now. New Year, New Me is a big thing. A lot of people want to shit all over that and say you're never going to do it. But I kind of want to support it. And hey, not everybody sticks to everything, but I think every now and then someone really makes a goal and achieves it. So for those of you who are going to do that this year, I'm pulling for you. And for those of you who are not, don't worry, there's always next year. Also, I wanted, even though Chris and I oftentimes will get into some deeper subjects and adult context for the show when we're discussing these episodes, I wanted to remind everybody what the energy really is meant to be here, which is that our inner children, we'll say, are getting together like we did back in the day and watching our favorite show, Sailor Moon, together. So I hope you know, I leave stuff like the transformations and the battle sequences in here, or I put them in here specifically so you guys can have fun doing the hand. I know y'all do it like I do. When you hear do the motions and the pretend you're doing the thing like we used to, that's why it's there. It's for us to have those moments when we typically, probably most of us as adults, don't get to do that stuff so much. So enjoy it. Like, I hope you enjoy it, because that's why I put them in. Before we dig into the episode today, which is one of my favorites from season 1 for several reasons, I am going to just drop a light Sailor Moon news moment in here. I'm not even going to bother with special music or anything. I just want to remind everybody that the Sailor Moon R complete second season is going to be available on Blu-ray on February 28th, 2023. It's currently available to pre-order for $39.99 on Amazon and I believe another website as well. Just in case you're trying to buy, and this is not the dub that I reference when making Moonstar, this is the redub that was done by Viz. So if you're getting this DVD set, just know that it's not the one I'm going to be talking about on the show. Well, at least not yet. After we do all of the deep dub and everything else I have planned, that's when we're going to dive into the new dub, and we're going to compare them and everything. So I'm going to be picking this up because I need to get ready for that. And I don't like to do streaming as much as I can avoid it with certain things because, especially living where I do, you never know when you're going to have electricity. And you can always pop a DVD into a laptop, you know? So, anyway, moving on from that, was there any other Sailor Moon news that I wanted to share? I saw an article. It's not real news. It's just one of those articles where like a fan writes something and then it gets published somewhere. But someone was talking about how the original dub should be available on streaming service for everybody to watch. And I totally agree with that sentiment in a lot of ways, but at the same time, part of me is glad that it's not, because I think the fact that you have to kind of dig a little to get it if you want to watch it means you probably care enough about it not to be a big jerk about the several many flaws that are present in it. And I'm someone who watches the old dub completely aware of the issues with it, but choosing to love it anyway, because it's a snapshot of the time and it's what I grew up with. So there's definitely nostalgia, but I kind of do that with a lot. I mean, everything is flawed, no matter what it is. So I see the flaws, but I can love it in spite of, and in part because of its flaws. Because, you know, you've heard Chris and I talk about, I think it was Kristen Bishop who did Zoisite's voice. She was so fantastic, and without them doing the weird censorship that they were doing, we never would have gotten that performance, you know? So it's, if it was streaming, I think it might get torn to shreds in a way that would break my heart personally, and I think a lot of older Sailor Moon fans' hearts, because yeah, we get it, like, we're glad there's a new dub, and I'm excited to get to that, and I love that they corrected a lot of the issues that were in the original. But it just doesn't feel good to have anybody like take something that's really important to you and have them like tear it down, you know? I don't know. Maybe, who knows? Maybe I'm gonna watch the new dub and decide it's better, and I'll change my tune. But anyway, enough on me just kind of babbling at you guys. Chris and I had a fantastic conversation this week, so let's just dive into the episode. I'll see you in the outro. Peace.
I'm not too thrilled when Ray starts dating Darien today on Sailor Moon, but I'm even less thrilled when an evil force from the Negaverse turns nature itself against us. Will the Sailor Scouts triumph? Be right back and find out.
How was your New Year's? Did we record after that yet?
No, I don't think we did.
Yeah, what did you do?
Oh, I was just in the city area here by myself. I went to the main gay club that I go to, and just was there until after midnight, and then went back to a hotel, and then just went home the next day.
Oh, that sounds nice. I worked, but it was worth it because it's the best night of the year for that side gig, and I made a lot of money, so I'm not mad about that. Yeah. Plus, I don't really drink or anything, so
yeah, same.
The typical festivities are harder for me to enjoy. I'd kind of rather let everyone else have their fun and, you know, profit while they're doing that. But yeah, it was nice, and I'm glad we're in a new year, because this time last year was really rough for me. This has been the best year I've had in a really long time. How about you? How was 2022?
I think it was it was good aside from the car accident stuff, but in terms of interviews especially, it was the best year that I've had so far.
That's good. I know the car accident was crazy, but what month did that happen?
That was in January, so it was the very beginning.
So it's been a full year for you since that happened too. How are you feeling? You've recovered from all that, right?
Yeah, it's fine.
That's good. Well, I'm excited to get into these today. For An Unnatural Phenomena, before I dig into my notes, what info do you have about it for us?
Mostly just the the character designer and animation director stuff.
Who did this one?
That was a guy named Kiyoshi Matsumoto. I think that's his name. He was really only known for in terms of his career, he was best known for doing episodes only from season 1 of Sailor Moon. And he was also known later on, like when fans looked back, that the monsters that he did for some of the other episodes were scarier and more realistic. Like he's one of the other episodes that he did is Ray's debut. So when she becomes Sailor Mars.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and there's that has that really like gross looking bus.
I immediately thought,
yeah.
I was just picturing it. What other episodes do you know off the top of your head?
Yeah, I can check it quick because he had more of like a realistic design style for Sailor Moon than a lot of other character designers did.
I was going to say this episode really stuck out to me animation wise, but before I said that, I wanted to make sure it wasn't the guy that's like notoriously bad and I'm just crazy.
No. Okay, so he did, when like Prince Endymion is evil, he did that one, and then he did Minako's flashback episode as when she was like living as Sailor V,
which is another one I think they cut from the original dub. That I'll probably find us a fan dub of that somewhere. I'm sure there's one. I thought, because I actually posted some screenshots from this one this week in a Sailor Moon group, and not everybody, but a lot of comments were like, are you sure this is season 1? And I was like, well, I can see why they're confused, because it does all around, because I posted screenshots of Sailor Mercury when she breaks out of the vines, which I thought was animated particularly well, and then just like the monsters attacking people or whatever. But it looked like the caliber of some of the later seasons, I thought. And so I thought that was just an interesting point about this episode. Also, Darien saves Luna from getting hit by a truck in this, and the screenshot I got of that, Luna looks so funny. I don't know if you saw it, but for people who are listening, it's up on the Moonstar Facebook page. Go look at that just to laugh, because Darien's holding her and he looks so great. And that's why I got it. I was like, ooh, Darien looks cute here. And then I look at her face and she looks like, I don't know, it's hilarious. So people need to see that. What do you think of this episode as a whole? Do you like this one?
Yeah, I think it's pretty fun for something from season 1, and the better animation helps, and I don't know, the monster's fine, I guess. Like the way that they attack is kind of stupid, but I mean, it's bad, I guess.
It's like Vine Whip from Pokemon, basically. I liked that there was this thing where before the monster came out, it influenced all of the animals and stuff in the park. I thought that was kind of a cool thing, where it wasn't necessarily the monster attacking, but it had I don't know, it's kind of like the crystal points, I guess, how they would darken an area's energy. I don't know. Start going through the notes from the beginning. This episode opens and we see Amy talking to a gardener, Mr. Baxter.
Hi, Mr. Baxter.
Huh? Oh, hello, Amy. Good to see you.
Oh. So, Amy said you've worked here since she was just a little kid.
That's right, but now I'm about to lose my job.
What?
Oh, they're about to put up a big office building in this park.
This is another one of those side characters where it's like, oh, she's known him forever, like since she was a kid, and then we never see them again.
Yeah.
But as far as those type of characters go, I thought he was all right. It was a cool idea that she would be like, I guess, friendly with this older guy who works in a garden, but then adult me is like, let's translate that into real life. I would not want my 12-year-old hanging out with like a 6-year-old man at the park alone. So it's just a little, in real life it's kind of funny, but for the show I think it's sweet. What do you think of their relationship?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's fine. It seems pretty expected of a relationship that Ami would have with somebody, like in just a friendly way.
Yeah, it's kind of in her character to just be anyone who seems like down on their luck. I would imagine she is wanting to help them. We see Darian. Oh, I said this already. We saw Darian save Luna from a car.
Oh, this search for the Moon Princess sure isn't going well.
You're as accident-prone as Serena. Gotta be more careful.
Oh, what have you done to her?
Stopped her from being squished. If it weren't for me, she'd be Kitty Pancake right now.
Do you remember that? Because I actually forgot about it. I only remember her nearly getting hit by a car in Sailor Moon S. So that one caught me by surprise. Did you remember that moment?
No.
Yeah, it's sort of funny, and we get to see Darian being heroic outside of Tuxedo Mask, which is I like those moments. Or say his Japanese name because I always say it wrong.
Mamoru.
Yeah, Mamoru and Damien Mamoru. We see the beginning of Ray and Darian's short-lived relationship. What was your take on them as a couple?
I think it could have. I don't know. I think it could have worked.
I could see
was-
it. Yeah. They're both kind of a little bit rude. I think they would butt heads a lot though, which I believe we see later in the season. I'm not really sure. Do you remember how she goes about trying to get his attention?
Yeah, isn't that something that she like pretends to fall onto him or whatever? She's telling Matoki about it in the arcade.
Yeah, she has this huge elaborate plan to go and like fall, and he's going to catch her, and it's going to be
Yeah.
all romantic, and it's very like fantasy, or when you order it online versus when you get it in person, because what really happens is she like falls on her face and he steps on her head.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny. Darian is all, I made a note, just Darian is so rude to her. Like, I guess he's a big ass, so I don't remember what he says, but I was like, wow, Darian, rude.
Ready?
Ah, I'm so sorry.
Oh, gee, I feel so bad for Ray. She must be so embarrassed.
And you're so sincere.
Oh, it was all my fault.
Yeah, I know.
It was just funny. But they end up going on a date though, because she basically, at least in the dub version, she kind of persuades him into it. Do you remember the Japanese version by any chance?
Yeah, I watched it subbed. It's kind of the same thing. He just acts polite and goes along with it and he just acts indifferent about it.
Because it seems like he's doing it to humor her, kind of,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Melvin nearly catches Serena arguing with Luna about the how to not use the disguise pen unless it's for scout stuff. I thought that was an interesting moment because, like, what if he did figure it out? He's being so smart. I imagine he would, and
Yeah.
like also be smart enough to not say anything. Do you know what I mean? Like, kind of I saw a great screen cap of Molly from Sailor Moon R this week, and it's when Serena, like do you remember when all the points are there and it's like the clouds, there's this big storm gathering and they're going to go fight. I think it's before they go to the future.
Mm-hmm.
And Molly basically is like, I know you can't tell me what's going on and I know you're lying, but I'm not going to ask any more questions. And then she's basically makes her promise to see her tomorrow at school. And it's so sweet. Like, that's one of those things that just pulls at my heart. And I love those kind of moments in this show.
Yeah.
Do you remember what Nephlite decides to curse? Like, because usually curse is an item.
Yeah, he curses the guy's hat.
Yeah, I thought that was funny. Because it was kind of like, I guess, what else are we gonna curse? I thought he summoned butterflies. Do you remember that?
I know. Yeah, it doesn't really like show like why they're like what their attack is, but Yeah.
In my head, I imagine it's something like Butterfree from Pokemon. It's like poison spores or
Yeah.
something. Because they all looked pretty distraught. Although at the same time, I know butterflies can't really hurt you, but let's say a swarm of butterflies just came like right up in your grill as you're working and would not leave you alone. I would not love that.
No.
Like, I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think that would be great. So whatever they're doing, these butterflies are trying to scare off the workers because they're essentially destroying this park that the gardener has cared for his whole life. And there's a scene, I think, in the English where he's talking to someone like, what am I supposed to do? And they're like, oh, we might be able to get you a job as a janitor or something. They're basically like, too bad, so sad, you should have made better choices in life. Is it like that in the Japanese? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
It's so rude, but it's kind of unfortunately what happens a lot. What is your take on that kind of a moment in the show?
First thing, seeing the manager that he talks to smoking a cigarette before he don't see I can't think of any other episode in Sailor Moon where you see a character smoking and they're like, yeah, it's not that I can think of.
I want to say I remember it being in the manga, maybe, or
probably,
or some art or something like that, when they were trying something with the outers, like to show their age, maybe like that. I don't think it is in any of the other episodes either. And this was a time when, at least in America, they were really anti-smoking, like for kids, you know. It was like they were pushing that message. So I'm, with all of the cuts they made, I'm surprised they leave that in.
Yeah,
for sure. Because they cut out all kinds of stuff. And they edited a lot. Like they could have just cut that little bit, you know, not the whole episode. I thought that the evil squirrels were actually kind of spooky too. Just not terribly scary, but a swarm. I don't know. Just, I think it's because it's a real animal and not a fantasy thing. Because you can imagine like being swarmed by squirrels and attacked would be terrifying. Like, at least in my mind anyway. Serena spied on Darian and Ray's date with Melvin. How do you feel about the way Serena treats Melvin?
Ah, there you are!
Melvin!
I'm glad I found you. I thought we'd go for a boat ride out on the lake. It'll be so romantic.
We're not on a date, you big dork!
But we shared that prune milkshake and then took that lovely walk in the woods. Sounds like a date to me.
You stay out of it! I am not on a date with Melvin, okay? Looks like one to me!
I mean, it's not surprising at all. It's kind of crappy, like, if you think about it in real life, but at least by the end of things, then it's all like played off as a joke. So it's not that big of a deal, I guess.
I think it is. It is kind of crappy, but it's also a little realistic in the sense that this, again, is a middle school girl who gets older. And as the show goes on, we see like Melvin finds who he's supposed to be with and is more of just like a good friend, and they don't make fun of him as much as time goes on. And it's kind of an actual, more of a realistic, natural progression, hopefully, in some situations for some people. But it is it's a little bit sad sometimes.
Yeah. Right.
Because you can't help but think of like people, if you were like that, or if you knew people like that, you know, and you're like, oh, wah, wah. I do love Serena being a big spy with Ray and Darian, though. And that's something that we see a few times in the show. What is your take on her rivalry with Ray about Darian?
I think it's another thing that makes their relationship endearing. I think it's a fun contrast between their personalities, and it's just something that scenes like that between them get better and better as the series goes on. And I think it's some of the best comedy in the show, like the long running comedy aspect of the series.
Oh yeah, I agree. The thing I'm thinking of for some reason is Serena as the Red Ninja when Darian is staying at the shrine in Super S,
Yep.
and and Ray sees him like taking a bath or whatever. And just the idea of her like getting dressed up in a ninja costume to go and do, you can just go in your regular clothes. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought it was so funny. But yeah, it's one of my favorite running bits that they have too. Oh, and the reason I asked you about Melvin is because Luna says it's a crime the way you treat that boy. So just
Oh, yeah.
yeah, Luna knows what's up.
Hmm.
Do you remember, can you describe what the monster looked like?
Yeah, she's like green and has flowy purple hair and plant appendages, and I think she's like green and purple.
Yeah, it's very poison Pokemon, kind of like Rosalia a little bit for people who know that fandom. Um, it's okay, like you said, it's kind of just like a whatever design, which is kind of a bummer because the rest of the aspects of this episode were so well done. Oh, I just wrote the squirrels attack Luna. OMG. Like that's so rude. Leave Luna alone. I hate whenever the cats get hurt in the show. It makes me so offended.
I know.
Oh, if you watched it in Japanese, if you watch it in the dub version, the monster scream is really wild. I can't imitate it. I might splice it in, but it's just, you guys have to hear it.
You can't beat me, Sailor Scouts! You're nothing!
Hey! It's Tuxedo Mask!
And then, oh yeah, I love do you remember there's something about like the time before she figures out who Tuxedo Mask is. And like when she's crushing on him, crushing on Andrew, but then Darian is also like an aspect outside of Tuxedo Mask because we as an audience, I don't think are supposed to know technically that it's him yet either. What do you feel about this like unique era? Because it doesn't last all that long.
I don't know. I guess I kind of like Matoki's character because he's always really nice too. He's always really nice to the girls, and again, it's a weird contrast thing where it's like you're going more for the person who's rude to you, and instead of the person who's always nice to you. But I guess girls are more attracted to the bad boy thing. It's been like a long running stereotype.
I think that's probably, I would say that applies to girls and a lot of LGBT people who are, I would guess, in a similar mindset, because there's something about it that's like when you're younger, I think when people are nice to you, they feel too much like your family for a lot of people. Does that make sense? And then as you get older, you start to realize why, oh, the bad boy it's like a fun carnival ride, but then like if you ride it a lot, you're gonna barf. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just, I don't know how to put it, but it's like you start to value the way people treat you a lot more the older you get, because you find yourself doing backflips for what, like I don't know, it's a tangent, but would you have picked Darian or Andrew in high school?
Yeah,
compared to now.
I guess Darian, just for like the same reason that we just talked about. Yeah.
I think Andrew, yeah, it's like if you didn't put Darian next to Andrew, most people would just be fine with Andrew. Does that make sense? But then you have like his sexier bad boy friend next to him, and it's kind of like in comparison, who's the more exciting one, you know what I mean? But I don't know. I also think Darian is supposed to be one of those people who's incredibly charismatic,
Yeah.
like, and who mature, at least in the English version, he matures a lot throughout the seasons to become a lot kinder over the years. I don't know in the Japanese that well. Do you know the Japanese version pretty well?
Yeah, I usually always watch that whenever I watch the series.
How is he end up like? Is his arc personality wise kind of the same?
Yeah.
Okay, so he turns into a good guy. I mean, a lot of people do when they get older. We talked about the Yoma. Oh, what were those drinks that they were drinking? Because they keep calling them milkshakes, and I know that they're not. And then they keep talking about how Melvin loves prune milkshakes, which I thought was so funny.
So, you want to get a milkshake with me? How about you treat me to a milkshake, Melvin?
Really? Can we get vanilla with prunes? That's my favorite. But we shared that prune milkshake.
But what were they in the Japanese version?
Oh, like when they're at the restaurant?
Yeah.
I don't remember if they
probably don't even reference it.
No.
That's so funny.
I would have remembered that.
I think that's so funny. Yeah, for whatever reason in the English dub, they were like obsessing over these drinks and they called them milkshakes. And at the end of the show, I think Melvin says something like, "Oh, I'm sick. I had 15 prune milkshakes." And I was like, "Oh." Ew. And then, so I mean, they obviously destroy the monster. We all know how the show works. But the sailor says, and sort of the overall message of this episode is,
nature's a blessing we mustn't take for granted. We're not the only ones living here, you know?
Oh, I'm glad you noticed.
It's easy to forget. Paper comes from trees. There are lots of ways to save on paper. Try using reusable cups and utensils instead of the disposable kind. And make sure your parents and friends recycle so those paper products are processed into something else. Let's keep our trees in the parks, not in the waste dump.
Be kind to nature and also recycle. And I mean, I don't know that there's much to be said about that other than like, yes, and do that stuff. Right?
Yeah.
What do you think about anything else you want to add for this one?
No, I think that's probably everything that we covered that was interesting. The most interesting.
Yeah. What's the next one this guy animated? What's the next episode?
After that one, it was episode 22, which is the one where they're at a dance, and then her and Tuxedo Mask almost kiss.
At a dance. Is it the wax lady one? Where it's like etiquette school?
It's Kunzai.
Oh, during Kunzai, it's a long ways away. It might have been that one. That's one of my favorite episodes, if that's what I'm thinking of. And interesting. That's one of my favorite monsters too. Okay. So that's it for An Unnatural Phenomena. Oh, people were wondering like where to watch this one. And just in case people listening actually do want to find it and watch it in English, the VHS tape is called Sailor Mars Joins the Battle, and we've talked about that already. But if you can't find that, or if you prefer DVD, the Sailor Scouts to the Rescue is the DVD that has this episode on it. It's the last one on the DVD, and that's the one that has Sailor Moon, Sailor Mercury, and Sailor Mars on the front, and the background colors are like a light blue. So go find that if you guys want to watch it. And yeah, that's it for An Unnatural Phenomena. What's the Japanese title of the episode?
It's Ray's first. It's like Usagi in a panic, Ray's first kiss or something.
Oh, it's more focused on that aspect, I guess.
Yeah.
Which I mean, I guess that is probably the main point of this one.
Yeah.
Anyway, just establishing. I'm like focusing on nature and the garter that no one cares about. Everyone's like, hello. Okay, well, that's a fun episode. It's one of my favorite ones from season 1. Are you ready to do the other one?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on, let me. That's it for this week's episode of Moonstar, a Sailor Moon podcast. Is recycling still as cool as it was back in the day? Captain Planet, anyone? Sound off in the comments or your 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. For more of Chris, you can follow him on Instagram and YouTube at Chris Mayek, ChrisMayek. For more of Alex, me, you can follow the Sunshine Farm Entertainment YouTube and Instagram pages, as well as Alex Summers SFE on TikTok. Don't forget to like Moonstar, a Sailor Moon podcast on Facebook, and follow our official Moonstar Sailor Moon podcast Instagram account as well. Moonstar, a Sailor Moon podcast is meant for informational and entertainment purposes only. All clips and sound effects used in the making of this show belong expressly to the license and copyright holders. Until next time, peace.
Darian, what's wrong? Aren't you feeling well? The birds have gone
Watch
down.
out!
Get away, you nasty fuzzballs!
What have you done to Mr. Baxter, you monster? And where are the animals going berserk?
Why to get rid of pests like you, dear? Pollen
Look out! It's Ravenhood!
Your turn! Ha! Nobody can help you! Not now, not ever!
Oh no! I've got to save Mr. Baxter! I can't get these things to budge! Are you alright? Barely. You almost set me on fire, Mars.
Oh, great! Nice thanks for saving your backside. Now let's take care of this nasty weed.
We are Sailor Scouts, the champions of justice.
We will right wrongs and triumph over evil like you. On behalf of Mars,
As Mercury!
we will punish you.
Hey, you guys are stealing all of my lines!
You can't beat me, Sailor Scouts! You're nothing!
Hey! It's Tuxedo Mask!
Be strong, Sailor Moon. You can defeat her.
Right!
You've broken the spell, sailors. So long.